From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline, Malacanang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacanang in Review. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday welcomed Cambodian Prime Minister Samdech Moha Borvor Thipade Hunmanet at Malacanang Palace in Manila, where they held a bilateral meeting. Hunmanet who was on his second day in the Philippines, was accorded with arrival honors at the palace's Kalayaan grounds. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo, Finance Secretary Ralph Recto, Trade Secretary Maria Cristina Roque, Special Assistant to the President for Investment and Economic Affairs Frederick Go, Information and Communications Technology Secretary Ivan John Uy, and Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. joined the President in welcoming Hun Manet at Malacanang. Hun Manet also signed the guestbook prior to his bilateral meeting with President Marcos. This is the Cambodian leader's first visit to the Philippines. His two-day official visit to the country aims to advance Manila and Phnom Penh's cooperation in combating transnational crimes, defense, trade, tourism, and regional and multilateral cooperation. The two nations' diplomatic relations were first established in 1957 and reaffirmed in 1995.
Dateline, Malacanang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday expressed his intent for the Philippines to hold more frequent military training exchanges with Cambodia amid security challenges in the South China Sea and the Indo-Pacific region. During his bilateral meeting with Cambodian Prime Minister Samdech Moha Borvor Thipade Hunmanet at Malacanang Palace in Manila, President Marcos said he wants to maximize the two countries' existing cooperation in diverse fields of mutual interest and explore new ways to collaborate to attain regional peace and stability. The President told Hun Manet that he was pleased with the training course conducted by the Philippine Army and the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces in Cambodia last year. President Marcos said he is also looking forward to hosting the 4th Philippine-Cambodia Joint Defense Cooperation Committee meeting in Manila this year. The chief executive expressed optimism that the outcomes of the meeting would result in a strengthened coordination between the two nations' militaries in new areas of cooperation, such as humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, combating transnational crimes, cybersecurity, and information sharing, amongst others. President Marcos also expressed his gratitude to Cambodian King Norodom Sihamoni for granting royal pardon to 13 Filipino women convicted in Cambodia for illegal surrogacy. The pardon, granted on December 26, 2024, was secured following a request from the Philippine Embassy and the endorsement of the Cambodian government. The pardoned Filipino women were tried and convicted under Cambodia's 2008 law on the suppression of human trafficking and sexual exploitation for participating in a surrogacy scheme. Surrogacy has been illegal in Cambodia since 2016, and violations are considered felonies.
Dateline, Malacanang.
Also on Tuesday, the Philippines and Cambodia signed 8 agreements on key areas such as trade and investment, agriculture, education, tourism, and information and communications technology or ICT. The signed agreements were presented on the sidelines of the bilateral meeting between President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and Cambodian Prime Minister Samdech Mohaborvor Thipade Hun Manet at Malacanang Palace in Manila. Among the deals forged during Hun Manet's first visit to the Philippines was the agreement for the elimination of double taxation with respect to taxes on income and the prevention of tax evasion and avoidance, which aims to reduce tax burdens for investors from both countries to secure more bilateral investments. The two countries also signed a Memorandum of Understanding or MOU on the implementation of competition law to boost inbound investments and promote a business-friendly environment. A Memorandum of Intent or MOI was also signed to enable them to exchange information on strategies and practices in investment promotion and in attracting investments. The MOU on agricultural and agribusiness cooperation was also signed to facilitate the Philippines and Cambodia's agricultural planning and further enhancement of international trade and agribusiness investments. The two nations also inked an MOU to step up cooperation on technical vocational education and training or TVET and another MOU for the implementation program for tourism for the year 2024 to 2028, agreements that cover a multitude of activities like exchanges of knowledge and training individuals, an MOU for formal collaboration on ICT and government digital transformation through exchanges of expertise and training was likewise signed. The two countries also inked an MOU on prevention of looting and illicit trafficking of cultural property.
Dateline Malacanang.
Still on Tuesday, Cambodian Prime Minister Samdech Mohaborvor Thipade Hun Manet urged Philippine Airlines to expand their operations in Cambodia. In a joint statement after his bilateral meeting with President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. at Malacanang Palace in Manila, Hun Manet said Philippine Airlines may consider new flight routes in Cambodia. Siem Reap Angkor International Airport is already operational. Cambodia is also targeting the inauguration of Techo International Airport, its new airport in Phnom Penh this year. President Marcos meanwhile said the Philippines is also open for business, encouraging Cambodian investors to choose the Philippines as their investment destination. The chief executive also welcomed the resounding success of Cambodia's Business Forum, which was attended by Hun Manet on Monday, saying the event facilitated valuable networking opportunities between the two nations' private sectors. President Marcos said the Business Forum also provided a platform to discuss potential business collaborations and enhance mutual understanding of their respective business environments and incentive schemes. Let us listen to the joint statement of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and Cambodian Prime Minister Samdech Mohaborvor Thipade Hun Manet.
The visit of His Excellency the Prime Minister reflects another important milestone in our long-standing ties with Cambodia. We are glad to welcome to Manila our friends from the government and the business community to Cambodia, to the Philippines, who together with their Filipino counterparts are eager to further elevate the growing cooperation between our countries across diverse areas of mutual interest. The Philippines and Cambodia established diplomatic ties in 1957, and since then, the friendship between our two nations and peoples have grown both in terms of our bilateral cooperations and in the context within ASEAN. Indeed, written in our history are the interactions between Filipinos and Cambodians in decades past. Today, in the spirit of this steadfast friendship, Prime Minister Hun Manet and I have discussed ways to maximize our cooperation and explore new opportunities to deepen our bilateral ties. We have exchanged views on ASEAN matters and other regional issues. We also discussed comprehensively our determined efforts to combat transnational crimes and protect our communities from unscrupulous individuals who take advantage of the industrious nature and strong sense of family of our peoples. To this end, I have personally expressed my gratitude to His Majesty King Norodom Sihamoni for the royal pardon granted to 13 Philippine surrogates who were sentenced in Cambodia, but who have since returned to the Philippines last December. We thank the Cambodian government for ensuring their safety and their well-being. We are also pleased with the growing partnership between our militaries and uniformed services. I anticipate the continued exchange of best practices and knowledge to support our mutual aspiration for regional peace and security and our collaborative efforts in enhancing our resiliency. On trade and investment, we welcome our formal cooperation on the avoidance of double taxation and the exchange of best practices in competition law that the Philippines and Cambodia both consider as critical to entice and facilitate greater bilateral investments and economic activities between our business sectors. I also note that our two sides have signified their intention to exchange information on strategies and practices in investment promotion and in attracting investments. I express my heartfelt congratulations to the Prime Minister for the resounding success of yesterday's business forum. The event facilitated fruitful networking opportunities between our private sectors, provided a platform to discuss potential business collaborations, and enhanced mutual understanding of our respective business environments and incentive schemes. I'm confident that through this engagement, we will see more Filipinos investing in Cambodia and more Cambodians investing in the Philippines. To our friends from Cambodia, I wish to reiterate that the Philippines is open for business, and we welcome the opportunity to partner and achieve greater commercial successes with you. We also see Cambodia as an important partner in ensuring food security. I am pleased that we have come to an agreement to pursue stronger collaboration in agriculture and in agribusiness. Accordingly, I expressed my hope for both Filipinos and Cambodians in the agricultural sector to actively participate in various programs under this agreement. On people-to-people ties, we have entered into formal cooperation on technical vocational education and training, and I note that our two sides have agreed on the implementation program for tourism as well for the period of 2024 to 2028. These two instruments will lead to more vibrant exchanges between Filipinos and Cambodians learning together, using their skills to advance our industries and our economies, as well as experiencing the hospitality, warmth, and natural wonders of our respective countries. We have renewed our agreement on the prevention of looting and trafficking of cultural properties, which reaffirms our commitment to safeguard our highly regarded cultural items, to facilitate expert exchanges, and to promote collaboration that can enable future generations to appreciate the remarkable representation of our history and our identity. We also welcome our formal collaboration with ICT and government digital transformation. This enables us to undertake mutually beneficial initiatives, such as sharing of technical expertise, common promotion of ICT projects, and organizing capacity building engagements. Yet, even with all these, our recent successes, there remains much work to be done. We are in the process of bolstering our cooperation in customs, higher education, and culture, among many other fields of endeavor. I'm confident we will soon advance our bilateral cooperation in these important areas as well. So as we look forward to celebrating the 70th anniversary of our diplomatic relations in 2027, Prime Minister Hun Manet and I have agreed to continue working together in a manner befitting our nation's friendship and reflective of our vision for the improved peace, prosperity, and well-being of all our peoples in the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon to all members of delegates from both Cambodia and the Philippines and members of the press. It is my pleasure to visit the Philippines for the first time, and I thank President Marcos for the warm welcome and hospitality extended to myself and my delegations. 2025 marks the 68th anniversary of our diplomatic relations, and over the years, our relationship has grown stronger across multiple sectors, from trade and investment to security and people-to-people exchange. President Marcos and I just concluded productive discussions and witnessed the exchange of 8 arrangements and MOUs serving as a concrete step to further increase our interactions. On bilateral front, we are committed to taking our cooperations to new heights. We identify new opportunities to boost trade and investment flows. In agriculture, Cambodia stands ready to contribute to the Philippine food security through rice supply as well as many other food products. Tourism and connectivity are crucial for promoting people-to-people exchange. I invited, through President Marcos, the Philippine carriers to explore additional routes. To support this initiative, Cambodia offers new gateway to the world in our historical city of Angkor, through our new Siem Reap Angkor International Airport, and later this year in our vibrant capital, Techo International Airport in Phnom Penh. Also, we recognize the crucial role of private sectors in driving economic growth. Cambodia encouraged the stronger engagement through trade missions, business fora, and trade fairs. At the Cambodian-Philippine Business Forum yesterday, I underscored the untapped potentials and investments opportunities for Filipino investors and entrepreneurs. The Filipino community in Cambodia plays an important role in our socio-economic development. We remain committed to ensuring a welcoming and supportive environment to our Filipino friends. Our multilateral cooperations, Cambodia underlines the importance of upholding ASEAN unity and centrality, especially at times of conflict and geopolitical dynamics. As the Philippines assumes ASEAN chairmanship in 2026, I assured President Marcos of Cambodia full support. In closing, I look forward to continuing work with President Marcos to expand our partnership and mutual prosperity, and hope to welcome Mr. President to Cambodia in the very near future. I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
You just heard the joint statement of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and Cambodian Prime Minister Samdech Moha Borvor Thipade Hunmanet.
Dateline Malacanang.
In other Malacanang news, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday officially kicked off the proclamation rally for the Alianza para sa Bagong Pilipinas in Lawag City, Ilocos Norte Province. In his remarks, the president highlighted the importance of electing public servants who are committed to prioritizing the welfare of every Filipino and the nation as a whole. President Marcos emphasized that the senatorial candidates have demonstrated their dedication through extensive service across various government departments and remained steadfast in applying their expertise toward the continued progress of the country. The Alianza para sa Bagong Pilipinas is a coalition of the nation's 5 leading political parties: the Partido Federal ng Pilipinas or PFP, Lakas Christian Muslim Democrats or CMD, Nationalist People's Coalition or NPC, Nacionalista Party or NP, and National Unity Party or NUP. Let us listen to the remarks of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. during the event.
Andito po ang aming ipinagmamalaki na mga kandidato para sa Senado. Ngunit, bagamat nakatuon ang pansin natin sa ating mga sa ating mga kandidato para sa Senado, huwag po natin kaligtaan ang halos 18,200 na local executive na ating ihahalal sa Mayo. Nabanggit ko po ito dahil may pagmamalaki ng alyansa na kami lang ang may kumpletong ticket mula sa senador hanggang sa sangguniang bayan ng pinakamaliit na bayan ng buong Pilipinas. At hindi pangkaraniwan ang mga aming kandidato. Hindi po kagaya ng mga nakikita natin sa mga iba't ibang partido. Hirap na hirap makakuha ng kanilang mga miyembro. Ang aming pong ipinagmamalaki at pinaglalaban ay subok na at matagal nang nagseserbisyo sa publiko. Hindi po ay naaawa rin po kuminsan sa ating mga katunggali dahil nagmamakaawa para makakuha ng mga malalakas at magagaling na kandidato. Di tulad ng iba, karampot lang ang kandidato. Dito po, buo kami. Hindi lamang buo sa numero, ngunit buo ang loob para ipaglaban ang kapakanan ng bawat Pilipino at ang buong Pilipinas. Kaya naman, nagtataka nga ako, parang yung mga iba na naging kandidato, nag-deliver lang yata ng suka, nabigyan na ng certificate of candidacy. Dahil wala ang ikukumpara sa ating mga kandidato. Kung ihahambing natin sa mga napulot nila, ang ticket natin mula sa Senado hanggang Sangguniang Bayan ay mga leader na subok sa serbisyo. Magandang record na pwedeng ipagmalaki kahit kanino. Kung kilatisin natin ang isa-isa, napakatingkad ng ating kakayahan, ng kanilang kakayahan at ang mga pambato para sa pagbabago. At kapag pinagsama kagaya nito na nangyari dito sa alyansa, ay lalong nakaka-impress ang kanilang pinagsamang lakas at galing. 8 po sa ating mga kandidato ay veteranong senador. Palitan ko na lang, matagal ng senador kasi pag veterano baka akalain nilang hindi lang luma kundi matanda. Andito po ang ating mga senador, Senator Cayetano, Senator Lacson, Senator Lapid, Senator Marcos, Senator Pacquiao, Senator Revilla, Senator Soto, Senator Tolentino. Pagpasok po sa Senado ng mga re-electionist sa Senado, ay wala na pong OJT. Hindi na mag-aaral. Alam nila ang trabaho. Alam na nila ang pangangailangan ng Pilipino. Alam na nila ang gagawin nila upang gawin at idala sa ating mga kababayan ang kanilang pangangailangan. 7 naman ay nanggaling naman sa Kongreso na subok sa batasan. Andyan po ang mga Congressman Abalos, Congressman Binay, Congressman Cayetano, Congressman Marcos, Congressman Pacquiao, Congressman Tulfo, Congressman Villar. Kitang-kita po naman natin na itong lahat ay sanay na sanay, subok na subok at matagal nang nagpapakita ng galing. Hindi na bagito sa pagpanday ng mga batas. 4 ang nagsilbi sa kabinete. Humawak ng cabinet rank na posisyon. Si Abalos, DILG Secretary. Si Tulfo, nag-DSWD Secretary. Lacson, ng Yolanda Rehabilitation Commission. Tolentino, siyang namuno ng MMDA. Ngunit, sa kanilang katungkulan, ay hindi lang po sila parelax-relax. Tingnan nyo po ang kanilang mga record at makikita po ninyo na sila ay nakagawa ng magandang pagbubuti para sa kanilang mga kagawaran. Alam nila ang government work galing sa kabinete. Hindi lang dada, pero gawa ang kanilang ipinapakita. They are not here to oppose. They are here to propose. Tatlo ang naging gobernador ng malalaking probinsya. Alam nyo na, Manang Aimee dito sa atin, sa Ilocos Norte. Lito Lapid, Governor Lito Lapid ng Pampanga. At ang Governor Revilla ng Cavite naman. Bukod pa ron, kasama nila ang tatlong naging city mayor. Abi Binay ng Makati. Tolentino ng Tagaytay. Abalos ng Mandaluyong. At huwag natin kalimutan na si Tito Sen, Senator Soto, ay naging vice mayor din ng Quezon City. Hindi rin po tayo nagkukulang sa boses ng kababaihan at maglalaban para sa karapatan ng ating kababaihan dahil 4 sa ating mga kandidato ay babae, pero itong mga babaeng ito ay palagay ko, mas matatapang pa ito kaysa sa mga lalaki na nandito ngayon. Mga abogado naman, 4 din. 4 ang abogado natin. Abalos, Binay, Cayetano, Tolentino. Si Aimee nag-aaral din sa law school. At pinagtatalunan lang nila kung sino daw ang pinakamagaling at sino nanggaling sa pinakamagandang eskwelahan. Ngunit lahat yan ay magaling, lahat yan ay matalino, lahat yan ay ginamit na ang kanilang kakayahan upang pagandahin ang Pilipinas. Kung itatanong naman natin, sila ba ay isa lang ang pinanggalingan? Tiga Maynila lang ba lahat? Tiga Luzon ba lahat? Hindi po. Dahil pagdating sa geographical representation, 2 ang taga Mindanao. Si Manny Pacquiao ng Bukidnon, Sarangani at saka Jensan. Si Erwin naman, lumaki sa Davao Oriental, sa Sulu, mga probinsya kung saan nadestino ang kanyang bayaning ama. Ang unang Vicente Soto ay naging senador na tiga Cebu. Ang nanay naman namin ni Aimee, alam nyo naman, 100% waray. Alam naman natin pati na ang lolo ni Camille ay galing sa Iloilo. Yan po ang ating ipagmamalaki. Dahil po nauunawaan nila hindi lamang ang mga problema na hinaharap ng nasyonal, hindi lang ang mga problema sa taas, sa Senado, ngunit lahat po sila ay may karanasan sa local government, may karanasan sila sa executive. Lahat po sila ay nakapagpakita na ng kanilang kakayahan. Kaya't po ay kayang-kaya naming maipagmalaki. Bukod po dyan, tignan niyo po ang record ng ating mga kandidato. Wala sa kanila ang may bahid ng dugo dahil sa tukhang. Wala sa kanilang kasabwat sa pagbulsa ng sako-sakong pera, pinagsamantalaan ang krisis ng pandemya, pinabayaan ang ating mga kababayan na magkasakit at mamatay. Wala sa kanila ang mga pumapalakpak sa China at natutuwa pa kapag tayo ay binobomba ng tubig. Tinatamaan ang ating mga Coast Guard, hinaharang ang ating mga mangingisda, ninanakaw ang kanilang huli. At bukod pa ron ay inaagaw pa ang mga isla natin para maging bahagi ng kanilang bansa. Wala po sa kanila ang tilang sakristan ng isang bulaang propeta na nasasakdal dahil sa pagyurak sa ating kabataan at sa ating kababaihan. Wala sa kanila ang tagataguyod ng pugad ng krimen, ng sentro ng paglalapastangan ng mga kababaihan na mga pogo. Tayo ngayon ay nasa sangandaan ng ating paglalakbay bilang isang malayang bansa. Bilang isang sambayanang may dangal, may sipag at may talino. Tayo ba ay papayag na babalik sa panahon gusto ng kung kailan gusto ng ating mga liderato maging probinsya tayo ng China? Babalik ba tayo sa nakaraan na ibinubugaw ang ating bayan bilang isang sugalan ng mga dayuhan? Nais ba natin bumalik sa landas na umaapaw sa dugo ng mga inosenteng mga bata na inagaw sa kanilang mga anak, mga ina, kinuha sa kanilang mga tahanan at inagaw ang kanilang kinabukasan? Walang nagnanais na Pilipino na mabalik tayo sa ganyang klaseng pagpatakbo. Kaya naman, pakakatiyak po kayo na kapag ang ating mga kandidato ay naluklok sa Senado at sila ay nagsimula ng kanilang trabaho, asahan po ninyo na sila po ay hindi makikihalo, hindi makikilahok sa ganyang bagay na ating iniwanan na at naayaw balikan. Ito po ang aming ipinagmamalaki. Ito po ang ating mga kandidato para ng alyansa para sa bagong Pilipinas. Ito po ang hinaharap namin sa inyo, ang pinakamagagaling na Pilipino, pinakamasipag na nagsiservisyo publiko, at ang buong buhay nila ay itinaya nila hindi lamang para sa kapakanan ng kanilang mga sarili, kung hindi po para sa inyo, para sa taong bayan, para sa Pilipino, at para sa Pilipinas. Kaya, sa darating na Mayo po, huwag nyo na pong tignan ang mga ibang mga pangalan. I-shade nyo na po lahat po itong nandito na nasa harap ninyo at gawing nating 12-0 ang ating resulta sa Senado. Nang sa ganon, matitiyak natin ang kinabukasan ng ating minamahal na Pilipinas.
You just heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacanang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday reminded local government candidates not to be swayed by the intense emotions and personal nature of elections, particularly those at the village and municipal levels. Speaking before town mayors during the League of Municipalities of the Philippines, or LMP 2025 General Assembly at the Manila Hotel, President Marcos acknowledged the heat of elections, especially at the local level. However, the president stressed that while the election process can be emotionally charged and contentious, it is essential to remember that democracy requires candidates to seek a mandate from the people. Despite the heated competition and the sometimes harsh rhetoric exchange during campaigns, the chief executive underscored the true purpose of public service. President Marcos also urged local candidates to remain focused on their mission to serve the Filipino people, especially amid the challenges of polarized election season. Let us listen to the speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. during the event.
Today, we are convened here as leaders and public servants who have dedicated our years and, in many cases, our lives to civil service. For many of us, this is a calling and it is a lifelong commitment to serve our people. Public service has defined much of my life. I have had the privilege of serving in various capacities as a legislator, as a governor, now as president. Throughout these years, one thing has remained constant to me. The challenges before us are always great, but the opportunity to create lasting change is even greater. Our municipal mayors, you are the front lines of governance. You are the first to hear the concerns of our people, the first to act on their needs, and the first to bear the weight of their expectations. Your initiatives are anchored with the realities on the ground. You understand the strengths and limitations of your towns, and you design programs directly to respond to the needs of your constituents. A testament to this is the progress that we have made in local governance. Because of the refinements that you have introduced in measuring financial sustainability under the seal of good local governments, so many LGUs have met our highest standards. From over 493 LGUs in 2023, this has grown to 714 in 2024. That number is a clear indication. Yes, this is a very good result. This is a clear sign that more local governments are boosting fiscal discipline and transparency. Beyond this, you have contributed to the formulation and lobbying of key pieces of legislation, such as the Real Property Valuation and Assessment Reform Act, a very, very important act that clears up so much of the confusion that we run into, especially when it comes to building, reclassifying, or all of the things that we do to develop our land. The valuation and assessment process that has now been put in place has clarified a great deal of the problems that we were facing before. Also, is the Automatic Income Classification of Local Government Units Act. These laws uphold standards in managing real property and providing a more equitable system for local government financing. We have to do this because you are a victim of your own success. Kasi ang gagaling ninyo masyado, nakaabot na karamihan ng ating mga municipality ay nabigyan na ng seal of good local governance. Kaya't ang gagawin ngayon natin, we will make it even more rigorous in the testing so that makita naman natin na talagang yung standards natin sa local government ay dahan-dahan naman umaakyat. In our collective drive to localize the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, you have also spearheaded island cluster conferences, ensuring that municipal leaders are equipped to align local programs with global targets for sustainability and development. Nagsimula tayo rito sa alignment between local government projects and national projects. At yan ang aming isinusulong. At dahan-dahan naman, nagko-coordinate tayo. Ngayon, tayo ay sinisynchronize na rin natin ang ating ginagawa. Hindi lamang para dito sa national government ng Pilipinas, kung hindi pati na sa mga standard na ibinigay sa atin ng United Nations. At this juncture, I stand before you as somebody who has walked the same road that you have, who knows the difficulties and the rewards of local governance. I understand the weight of the responsibility that comes with the job. But I also know the fulfillment of seeing lives change for the better because of the work we do. Yet, governance remains dynamic. The drivers of economic progress have changed from the traditional industry to innovation-based services. Technology has advanced so far and so fast. Climate change has upended our lives, and our people expect a government that is efficient, that is responsive, that is inclusive. The solutions of yesterday no longer are relevant today. They do not address the problems of today. So we carry a mission that's more crucial than ever. We must lead. And we must lead with integrity, serve with competence, and govern with a vision that extends beyond our terms in office. Sa dulo ng ating panunungkulan, isang tanong lamang ang mahalaga. Mas maginhawa ba ang buhay ng mga Pilipino dahil sa ating mga ginawa? Kung ang sagot ay oo, alam natin, nagampanan natin ang ating tungkulin. So as this term comes to a close, I encourage you to reflect on the work that you have done. And whatever path you choose after this, whether you seek another mandate or move on to a new chapter in your lives, I trust that you will embrace the same grit, passion, and commitment to service. Even beyond your tenure, I hope that you will adopt and sustain the reforms that we have introduced in national and in local government, such as the ELGU, which helps streamline services, the Kalinisan sa Bagong Pilipinas for healthier communities, the extended producer responsibility for environmental conservation. So let us strengthen this partnership, one that transcends positions and terms, so that governance remains a force for prosperity and public service, a legacy that continues to endure beyond our time. Complementing your efforts, this administration is focusing on streamlining and digitalizing bureaucracy to make government services more efficient. We are reinforcing collaboration across sectors to ensure that policies that we put in place address the actual contemporary needs and the challenges that you face. One concrete step in this direction is the implementation of the Electronic Business One-Stop Shop, or EBOS. As of last year, 113 out of 1,634 LGUs have fully complied with the EBOS requirement. Meanwhile, over 1,200 LGUs have now initiated automation efforts to enhance their transactions. To further support this shift, we have developed the ELGU as a ready-to-use EBOS platform, with 741 LGUs adopting it as of 2024. We have made critical government frontline services more transparent and accessible to our people. The modernized Philippines government electronic procurement system also drives our push for efficiency and transparency in public procurement, with features like the virtual store, the e-wallet, e-payment, e-marketplace. We are simplifying processes, ensuring accountability, and safeguarding public funds. Sa pangyayari ngayon, nandito na tayo sa ating kasaysayan, at ang humaharap sa atin na mundo ay what faces us today is a highly technical world, a highly technical system for our different economies, for the global economy, and a rapidly accelerating development in all kinds of research and technology. And that is why we have to keep up with that. At hindi lamang dahil kailangan natin makipagsabayan sa iba't ibang bansa. Ngunit bukod pa ron, ay kailangan natin na magamit ang pinakamagagandang teknolohiya upang maging mas maganda ang serbisyo nating ibinibigay sa tao. Kailangan na natin maunawaan kung paano natin gagamitin ang mga bagong teknolohiya, kagaya ng aking mga nabanggit. Ito ay makakatulong para maging mas mabilis, mas maginhawa, at mas accountable lahat ng ating mga ginagawa para sa taong bayan. Napaka-importante nito. This is very, very important. Because without doing this, as you can see, we have seen the differences not only within our own political system, but also with the different countries around the world. Yung mga bansa na nakapag-develop na mabilis at nai-adapt ang itong mga teknolohiyang ito, ay sila ang nagiging matagumpay. At kung yung mga iba naman na hindi nila nagawa itong paggamit ng mga bagong teknolohiya upang pagandahin ang serbisyo para sa publiko, yan ang mga bansa na naiiwanan. Kaya't namin ito ay sinulong upang wag naman ang Pilipinas maging isa sa mga bayan na naiiwanan. Ngunit sa ngayon, sa pagsasama at kooperasyon ng national government at saka ating mga LGU, maganda naman ang nagiging progreso. Kailangan lang natin pagpatuloy at tuloy naman ang ating suporta sa mga LGU para sa pag-adapt ng mga bagong teknolohiya. Napipilitan na tayo ngayon. Kailangan lahat tayo maging techie na. Kailangan lahat tayo, hindi na maaari yung pag may gagawin kayo, papagawa mo sa anak mo kasi hindi mo naintindihan. Kailangan maintindihan na ninyo ang technology, kailangan maintindihan na ninyo ang bagong sistema upang ma-maximize ito para sa serbisyo sa publiko.
Sa Kalinga at inisyatiba para sa malinis na bayan o kalinisan sa bagong Pilipinas program, last year alone, 22,200 barangays took part in the regular cleanup activities, demonstrating synergy in building a healthier, more dignified nation. Ito rin ay napakahalaga dahil lahat naman siguro sa municipal mayor ay naramdaman ninyo ang napakahirap na nagiging epekto ng climate change. Kaya kailangan naman, lahat naman tayo ay gagawin natin ang lahat upang mabigyan ng kaunting proteksyon ang ating mga constituent dito sa mga bagong pangyayari. Hindi naman natin masasabi na yung nakaraan ng mga bagyo, nung na-anim na bagyo na dumaan sa Pilipinas sa 23 araw, ay hindi natin masasabi na hindi mauulit yan. Kaya kailangan na natin paghandaan. Kailangan na natin tignan ano ang naging problema sa mga nakaraan. Dahil ang mga nangyayari, ang panahon ngayon, ang weather ngayon, ay hindi na natin maasahan yung mga dating ginagawa natin. Tayong lahat, pagka sinabi sa atin, may parating na bagyo, meron na, alam na natin yung gagawin natin. Kukunin natin yung heavy equipment, dadalhin din sa municipality, dadalhin sa Kapitolyo. At i-alert na natin lahat ng mga first responders. Alam na natin na kung paano gagawin. Ngunit ngayon, ay nagbago talaga. At kung saan hindi nagkakabaha noon, nagkakabaha na ngayon. Kung saan naman hindi gumuguha lupa noon, nangyayari na ngayon. Dahil kailangan natin tanggapin na ang weather ngayon ay hindi kagaya ng panahon, ang mga bagyo ngayon, hindi kagaya ng bagyo noon. Sila ay mas malakas at mas madalas. At tayo ay siguro, tayo naman sa Pilipinas, nasa frontline tayo niyan. Dahil ang mga pag-assess ng risk factor sa buong mundo, ang Pilipinas laging top 3. Kaya't kailangan talaga natin pag-isipan ito at paghandaan ito. Dahil sa bagong Pilipinas, hangad natin ang tunay at pangmatagalang pagbabago para sa lahat ng Pilipino. At ang pagbabago ay hindi lamang tungkulin ng gobyerno, kundi bawat mamamayan. Kaya tumaasa akong magsisikap tayong lahat na maging bagong Pilipino. Isang mamamayang inuna ang bayan bago ang sarili. Kumikilos para sa kapwa at naniniwala sa kakayahan na ating itataguyod ang ating kinabukasan. Hindi natin kaya nga, bilang leader, halimbawa, ikaw ay mayor, ikaw man kahit na anong klaseng elected official, kung ano yung ninanais ninyong gawin, alam naman natin, hindi natin kayang gawin ng tayo lang. Nag-iisa tayo, nasa opisina, umiikot, na tayo lang, kahit nag-iisa, nagagawa natin lahat ng kailangan gawin. Kailangan natin na samahan tayo ng ating mga kababayan. At ang Pilipino naman ay nakakaunawa. Ang Pilipino naman ay makabayanihan. Kaya't hindi mahirap na pakiusapan ang ating mga kababayan, ang ating mga kapitbahay, ating mga kapamilya, ang ating mga kaibigan, na sila ay tumulong. Dahil kailangan natin lahat ng kamay ng mabibigay ng ating mga kababayan upang magbigay ng konting lutas dito sa problemang hinaharap natin. We must engage our public. We cannot do these very hard things alone, very important things alone. And that's why in the national government we have adopted the policy and the concept of the whole of government approach. We have even expanded that to the whole of society approach. Kaya sinasama na ngayon natin ang ating mga private sector, ang ating mga negosyante, ang ating mga NGO, ang civil society, lahat ay sinasama natin upang makipagtulungan sa ating lahat. Yan ang kailangan natin gawin. Dahil itong problemang mga hinaharap natin ay hindi lamang problema ng mayor, hindi problema ng vice mayor ng Sangguniang. Problema ito ng bawat isa na nasa constituency ninyo. Kaya dapat ay kasama ang ating mga kababayan sa pagbigay ng solusyon.
So together we will forge a legacy of leadership, not only measured by words, but by livelihoods created, by lives improved, by dreams that have been realized. A legacy that will uplift our people today and empower our nation for many, many generations to come. Ngayon, nakita naman natin itong ating mga achievement. Papasok na tayo. Nagsimula kahapon ang campaign period para sa mga national candidates. At nagsimula na kami, nasa lawag kami kagabi, at hinarap namin ang mga kandidato ng alyansa. Ngunit ang mga local government officials ay papasok na. Mag-aantay na lang tayo ng 6 na linggo at kayo na ay magpapasok na sa campaign period. At alam naman natin, at ako sa karanasan ko, ang pinakamaiinit na eleksyon ay linalaban sa local government. Sa matter of fact, palagay ko, siguro mag-agree kayo sa mga mayor kayo, nakikita ninyo ito. Ang pinakamainit na eleksyon ay barangay. Yun ang dahil puro magkakilala, puro magkakamag-anak. Kaya't nagkakapersonalan. Mainit pa rin kahit sa municipality. And tama yan. That is the process of democracy. Kailangan natin dumaan sa eleksyon. Kailangan natin makuha ulit ang mandato ng tao upang tayo ay magawa natin ang ating trabaho. Ngunit, sa init ng kampanya, sa init ng halalan, huwag natin kakalimutan na tayo ay nandito, tayo ay pumasok sa serbisyo ng publiko upang tulungan ang taong bayan. Kahit na mainit na nga ang laban, maiinit, maanghang na ang mga binibitawang salita. Sa punot dulo nito, ginagawa natin lahat ito para makatulong sa ating mga minamahal na kapwa Pilipino. Huwag natin sana makakalimutan yan. At pagkatapos ng halalan, ay alam ko kuminsan napakahirap na magpalamig ng ulo ulit. Ngunit kailangan natin gawin yun dahil kailangan natin lang lahat ng mga gustong tumulong na magkapit-pisig upang magtulungan.
You just heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacanang.
Also on Wednesday, the Philippines and the United Arab Emirates or UAE have signed 2 agreements to develop the Pasig River and boost the government's competitiveness. First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos announced the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding or MOU between the Philippine government and the non-profit organization Clean Rivers Abu Dhabi to restore the Pasig River to its pristine condition. In a special address delivered at the Collaborative Models for Development Forum during the World Government Summit in Dubai, the First Lady thanked the assistance provided by the UAE so that the Philippine government can now clean the river and hopefully showcase it one day, much like the Chao Phraya River in Bangkok or the Seine in Paris. Araneta Marcos hoped that further improvements in the Pasig River would be completed in time for the Philippines hosting of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN in 2026. Araneta Marcos also emphasized the importance of genuine cooperation between the government and the private sector to achieve sustainable, meaningful, and inclusive change. She also touched on education, health, and environment, the 3 key areas relevant and close to her heart. Let us listen to the speech of Philippine First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos during the event.
I'm honored to be part of this year's World Government Summit's Forum on Collaborative Models for Development, hosted by the Office of the Development Affairs of the UAE Presidential Court. Thank you for allowing me to lend my voice to the discussions on how to shape a better future for our fellow men. Unfortunately, I'm not going to talk about the SGT and all that because that's beyond my pay grade, but I will just talk about my personal experiences. Over the past couple of years, the Philippines has stepped up in its participation in the WGS. This is in line with President Marcos's, my husband's, directive to encourage all Filipinos to work together for a new Philippines, one that reflects the best of who we are. I'm joined here by some of our cabinet secretaries who are at the forefront of this effort. And over the next few days, you will have the opportunity to exchange views with them on how they have been reaching out to our people in order to bring about changes that can be seen, felt, and actually enjoyed. As First Lady, I have had the privilege of working with both the public and private sectors to help bring about changes in our society. Our efforts may not be that grand as the UAE, but they have definitely helped to make an impact on those who need it most. So let me take this opportunity to share 3 personal experiences which are close to my heart and which I believe are relevant to our discussions today. The first is education. And I don't know why they put the slide too early, but for the past 28 years, I have been a law professor in public schools all over the country. There's a reason why I'm saying this, not to burst my bubble, but I made it a point to purposely teach the same class of students for 4 years straight, from the time they enroll as first-year law students until their 4th year, which is when they finally graduate from law school, take the bar, and become fully fledged lawyers. By teaching the same batch of students for 4 consecutive years, I've witnessed the transformation of my students from shy and nervous
terrifying, and that's why people flee in much larger number. This is why
it's a play of words of love and laboratory. So every week, we select a city and bring laboratory services to the communities via mobile clinics. Again, we're kind of small time compared to other countries, but we are accompanied by several doctors, nurses, and other healthcare personnel who volunteer their services for free. A week before the event, they go around the nearby areas and provide free medical and dental services, plus medicines and vitamins to communities where access to medical equipment and other resources are limited. This is in keeping with the words of my husband when he says that government must bring medical services to the people and not the other way around. So what started as a project that provided free medical services grew into a caravan that offered the business mentorships, legal services, scholarships, seedlings for farmers, and much more. So eventually, our Love for All project became a one-stop shop for all sorts of services. And I can't even begin to tell you how heartwarming it is when you see the grateful smiles of the thousands of beneficiaries that come to our program. This wouldn't have been made possible were it not for the collaborative help of our private sector partners who happily shared their resources to make this project a success. So the third and last item I want to talk about was the environment. For those of you who had visited our country, you would know that the capital of the Philippines is Manila. Earlier, I was talking to some women who wanted to move to Manila or to the beaches of the Philippines. Anyway, surrounding our city is this bustling 27-kilometer river that has had a cultural and economic significance to our people. Unfortunately, no one really took care of the river and its environs, and over the years, it has become a sight for sore eyes. It was polluted, dirty, stinky, and every other adjective you could think of. So 2 years ago, my husband formed an interagency committee whereby various government agencies would regularly meet with the sole purpose of finding ways and means to bring our river back to life. Slowly but surely, we were able to construct an esplanade where everyone from all walks of life could bike, stroll, break bread along the river. And now, thanks to the assistance provided by the UAE, especially Clean Rivers, which is an Earth Zayed initiative. Thank you very much again. We just signed the MOU earlier. We will be able to clean our river and hopefully make it a showcase, much like the Chao Phraya River in Bangkok or the Seine in Paris. This is another project where government and private sector work together to refurbish public spaces and instill pop-up eateries for the enjoyment of all. Hopefully, these improvements will be completed in time for our country's hosting of the ASEAN next year. So these are but 3 examples of how genuine cooperation between government and the private sector can help achieve change that is sustainable, meaningful, and inclusive. As I've always said, government cannot do it alone. We need to work closely with the private sector if we are going to make a meaningful change. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I still have 2 minutes left. Allow me to thank you for the opportunity to share my experiences on collaborative engagement. I wish you all the success in our discussions on how we can develop our individual countries through meaningful collaboration. Shukran.
You just heard Philippine First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos.
Dateline Malacanang.
Malacanang on Thursday announced that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has appointed former Bases Conversion and Development Authority or BCDA Chief Vivencio Vince Dizon as the next head of the Department of Transportation or DOTR. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin confirmed the latest appointment of Dizon, who will replace DOTR Secretary Jaime Bautista beginning February 21st. In a statement, Bersamin said Dizon is already authorized by the Office of the President to start the transition at the DOTR in coordination with the team of Secretary Jaime Bautista, who has resigned due to health reasons. As BCDA chief under the Duterte administration, Dizon contributed to the success in the implementation of big-ticket projects under the government's ambitious Build, Build, Build infrastructure program. Dizon also served as the former presidential advisor on the flagship program and projects of former President Rodrigo Duterte. He also served as the deputy chief implementer of the National Action Plan Against COVID-19, chief testing czar, and the chief coordinator of the Test, Trace, Treat program. Dizon also worked as a consultant of then Senate Majority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano from 2013 to 2016, Undersecretary for Political Affairs of the Office of the President of the Republic of the Philippines from 2011 to 2013, and the Chief of Staff of the Office of Senator Edgardo Angara from 2002 to 2004. He also became the Vice President for Corporate Communications for Strategic Alliance Holdings Incorporated Technologies from 2007 to 2011.
Dateline Malacanang.
Also on Thursday, Cambodian ambassador to the Philippines, Phan Piyov, said it is a great honor and privilege to work with the administration of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., citing the improved ties between Cambodia and the Philippines during his tour of duty. In a farewell call at Malacanang Palace in Manila, Phan expressed gratitude to the Philippine government for its unwavering support and commitment to enhance the two nations' bilateral relations. Phan served as Cambodia's ambassador to the Philippines for 3 years since 2022. He first met President Marcos days before the latter's inauguration as the Philippine president on June 30th, 2022, to discuss ways to improve the bilateral and diplomatic relations between Cambodia and the Philippines. Phan, whose term officially concluded on Thursday, said he was delighted to meet President Marcos. In a social media post, the Philippine president acknowledged Phan's contributions to strengthening Philippines-Cambodia relations. Phan ended his tour of duty Thursday following the official visit of Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet to the Philippines last Monday and Tuesday.
Dateline Malacanang.
Still on Thursday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. said to continue helping the graduating members of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, or 4Ps, by holding job fairs aimed at opening job opportunities for them. President Marcos made the pledge as he graced the Trabaho para sa Bagong Pilipinas fair organized by the Office of the President at the Iloilo Sports Complex in La Paz, Iloilo City. In his speech, the President said, "The Filipino people should always remember that the government is always here and listens to their grievances, to their needs, and will do everything to help." The Trabaho sa Bagong Pilipinas para sa 4Ps aims to create a positive shift from short-term relief to sustainable livelihood by facilitating skills matching between the beneficiaries and potential employers. The job matching event serves as a platform for participants to showcase their capabilities, offering a wide range of jobs and pre-employment assistance. Let us listen to the speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. during the event.
Nandito sa Iloilo upang makipag-meeting sa inyong mga leader tungkol sa mga kailangan mga gawin sa region. Kaya po ako'y nandito at may rally po kami ng mga aming mga senatorial candidate mamaya. Ngunit dumaan po ako rito para makita kung maayos ang aming ginagawa na para sa DSWD na assistance, para sa job fair, pati na ang patakbo ng kadiwa. Kaya kinumpleto na po namin para yung mga naghahanap, nag-a-apply ay pwedeng mag-register. 2,000 yata ang nag-register na mag-a-apply, 2,500 I believe. Mga ganun ang So sana naman, good luck sa inyong lahat at makahanap kayo ng trabaho. Hindi lamang at nandyan po ang mga employer natin na malaki din, 2,000 rin ang hinahanap nilang pwesto para sa ating mga aplikante. Kaya palagay ko may maganda ang pag-asa na makahanap ng trabaho ang mga nag-apply sa atin ngayon. At kasama na rin po dyan yung tinatawag na matching. Dahil po kuminsan ang nagiging problema sa naghahanap ng trabaho, yung kakayahan ng tao ay hindi bagay doon sa trabaho na ina-applyan nila. Kaya tinutulungan namin sila para naman babagay doon sa kanilang kakayahan, sa yung kanilang itinatawag na skill set na mapupunta sila sa tamang trabaho. Dito naman po, andito ang payout natin para sa ating mga beneficiaries ng DSWD. At ito po ay ang tulong ng pamahalaan sa lahat ng mga kababayan natin. Hindi lang po namin ginagawa rito, kung hindi sa buong Pilipinas. Ito po ay ginagawa namin dahil alam naman po natin na mahirap po ang buhay ngayon at marami tayong pangangailangan. Kaya kung anong maitutulong ng pamahalaan, kung anong magagawa ng gobyerno para sa inyo, ay gagawin namin. Kaya kasabay na ng payout ay nandito rin ang kadiwa para makabili po kayo ng mga bilihin na mura. Meron tayong bigas. Magkano yung bigas dito? 25? 29 per kilo. Yun ang pinakamababa na. At para tamang-tama, pagka nakakuha kayo ng payout, baka shopping kayo ng kaunti dito sa Kadiwa at pag uwi ninyo ay meron na kayong bit-bit na para sa inyong mga pamilya at para sa inyong mga mahal sa buhay. Sana po ay makatulong po itong aming ginagawa at napakahalaga po para sa ating pamahalaan na yung mga nangangailangan ng tulong ay mabibigyan ng tulong. Kaya po namin ginagawa ito. Salamat. Thank you very much. Magandang hapon sa inyo lahat. Good luck po sa inyo lahat. Sana, kagaya ng aking nabanggit, sana patuloy, wag nyo asipin po ninyo na lagi ang pamahalaan po ninyo ay laging nandito at nakikinig sa inyong mga hinain, sa inyong mga pangangailangan at gagawin po namin ang lahat upang tumulong.
You just heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacanang.
And finally, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. led the Alianza para sa Bagong Pilipinas senatorial candidates in wooing Ilonggo votes as they held their national rally in the city's Mundarriao district on Thursday. The president took pride in presenting before the more than 35,000 crowd at the Iloilo City Center that the Alianza is the only group with a complete list of candidates for all elective posts, from national down to the lowest Sangguniang Bayan. All 12 senatorial bets were present at the rally. Let us listen to the speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. during the national rally.
Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat at kayo'y nakarating upang pakinggan ang ating mga pambato na mga senador para sa darating na halalan. Yun lang po ay kahit na lahat ng atensyon po natin ay nakaharap dito sa ating mga magigiting na senatorial board, ay huwag po natin kakalimutan, may halos 18,200 na iba't ibang kandidato na sa lokal, mula sa governor, sa congressman, hanggang sa Sangguniang Bayan. At nabanggit ko po yan dahil ipagmamalaki ko na ang alyansa lamang ang samahan na kumpleto ang kandidato sa bawat pwesto na tinatakbuhan ngayong eleksyon na ito sa national hanggang sa pinakamaliit na bayan na Sangguniang member. Yan po ay dahil pag tinitignan po natin ang mga ibang partido, nakakandara pa po sila at naghahanap sila ng kandidato, hirap na hirap silang kumuha ng miyembro. At hindi nila maunawaan kung bakit ang alyansa, nakumpleto po natin yung lineup. Madali lang po ang sagot dyan. Dahil ang alyansa lamang sa lahat ng mga grupong politiko na kasama sa halalan na ito, ang alyansa lamang ay may panindigan. Hindi ito nagsasama para magtulungan lamang, para tulungan na sila ay mahalal. Sila po ay may panindigan na sila ay kapit-bisig na tutulong at gagawin ang lahat para pagandahin ang buhay ng bawat Pilipino at pagandahin ang minamahal nating Pilipinas. Kaya naman, malakas ang loob ko na, na magkampanya po sa inyo. Dahil pagka naman, kinumpara naman ninyo itong ating mga kandidato, ikumpara naman ninyo dun sa mga iba, wala tayong masasabi na hindi mo masasabi na kahit isa sa kandidato sa kanila ay mas magaling sa kahit sino sa kandidato natin para sa Senado. Kung kikilatisin natin, pagkikilatisin natin ng isa't isa ang ating mga kandidato, napakatingkad po, napakaganda po, at napakatibay ang kanilang kakayahan. Sila po ang mga pambato natin at sila ay magdadala ng pagbabago. Sila ang magdadala ng kapayapaan dito sa Pilipinas. Ngayon, pinagsama-sama natin ngayon, lahat itong napakagaling na mga kandidato para sa Senado ay nakaka-impress talaga ang kanilang pinagsama-samang lakas. Dahil po, unang-una, tignan po natin ang ating mga kandidato. 8 po sa kandidato natin ay naging senador na. Nandito po, Senator Cayetano, Senator Lacson, Senator Lapid, Senator Marcos, Senator Pacquiao, Senator Revilla, Senator Soto, Senator Tolentino. Naku naman, napakaganda ng pati ang mga record nila at makikita naman ninyo. Pagka unang araw pa lang na sila'y uupo, pag naluklok sila sa Senado, unang araw pa lang, hindi na po sila mag-OJT. Alam na nila ang trabaho. Alam na nila ang gagawin nila. Alam na nila ang problema na hinaharap ng ating mga kababayan. At alam nila kung paanong gawin para bigyan ng kaunting tulong ang lahat ng ating kababayan. 7 naman ang galing sa mababang kapulungan sa House of Representatives na naging congressman. Nandiyan po, naging congressman po si Abi Binay. Naging congressman din po si Benhur Abalos, si Pia Cayetano, ang kapatid ko, si Jaime Marcos, congressman din yan. Manny Pacquiao, congressman din yan. Erwin Tulfo, congressman din. Congressman Villar, si Camille, nasa Kongreso ngayon. Kaya makita po, kumbaga po sa basketball, napakalalim po ng bangko namin. Hindi na po sila bagito at hindi na sila mag-aaral-aral pa. At ang iba, 4 naman dito sa ating kandidato ay umupo sa cabinet position. Nandiyan po si Benhur Abalos na naging MMDA, tapos naging DILG Secretary. Andiyan po si Erwin Tulfo na naging kalihim ng DSWD. Si Senator Ping Lacson ay siya naman ang linagay sa Yolanda Rehabilitation Commission na tumulong pagkatapos na dinaanan po kami sa Region 8, dinaanan po kami ng kalakas-lakas na bagyo. At si Senator Tolentino ay siya naman ay dumaan din, nag-MMDA po. At masasabi ko, nabanggit na po natin ng Yolanda, alam niyo po, yan ang record po ni Senator Tolentino sa MMDA. Nung nasa Leyte kami, nasa Tacloban kami, walang dumadating po na tulong. Ang unang dumating na tulong ay galing kay Senator Tolentino ng MMDA. Kaya makita mo talagang malalim ang pagmamahal niya sa taong bayan. Alam nila ang trabaho sa bawat level, mula sa kabinete hanggang sa lokal, hanggang sa pinakababa. Hindi sila nagdadada. Marami silang ginagawa. They are not here to oppose. They are here to propose. Ibig sabihin po, hindi sila nandito upang makapagdebate lamang, upang paninira lamang. Sila ay nandito upang maghanap ng mga bagong paraan para tulungan ang ating mga kababayan. 3 naman ang naging gobernador sa malalaking probinsya. Ang kapatid ko, si Jaime Marcos, naging governor sa amin, sa Ilocos Norte. Si Paring Lito Lapid, naging gobernador sa Pampanga. Naging governor. Sino yung naging governor ng Cavite? Kalaki-laki na probinsya. Governor Bong Revilla. O yan ang mga governor. Meron din po kami, mga city mayor, malalaking syudad. Mauna dyan, yung pinakamayaman na lungsod sa buong Pilipinas. Ayan, nakangiti si Mayor Abio dahil siyang namahala ng Makati. Kaya't pupunta po kayo sa Makati, ay nako, maraming mga pinamimigay at ang tulong na binibigay ng pamahalaan sa kanila. Libre lahat sa Makati. Yan po ang ginawa ni Mayor Abby Binay. Si Benher Abalos, naging mayor din ng Mandaluyong. Narinig niyo naman po. Marami siyang natanggap na award, marami siyang natanggap na pagkikilala dahil sa kanyang performance bilang mayor ng Mandaluyong. At ang ating butihing Senador Tolentino ay naging mayor naman ng Tagaytay. Kaya't makita po ninyo, at isa pa, na nadaan din sa LGU. Huwag po natin nakakalimutan kung minsan hindi po natin naaalala ito. Ngunit, si Senator Tito Soto, naging Vice Mayor yan ng Quezon City. Kaya naman po talagang madaling masabi na handang-handa na itong grupo na ito. At hindi lamang, at pag-uusapan naman, ang mga issue ng ating mga kababaihan, hindi po tayo may iwanan. Dahil apat ang babae dito sa ating lineup. At hindi ito, alam niyo po, kilala ko silang lahat ng matagal. Palagay ko, itong ating mga babae na senador, palagay ko, mas matapang pa sa sundalo itong mga ito. Kaya't makakatiyak po kayo, mga kababaihan, maririnig ang boses ninyo, at ipagtatanggol ang mga karapatan ninyo ng ating mga lady senators. Dahil ang ating pinag-usapan dito ay legislatura, ang pagsulat ng mga batas. Dito po sa ating lineup, 4 po ang abogado. Si Attorney Benher Abalos, Attorney Abby Binay, Attorney Pia Cayetano, Attorney Tol Tolentino. Yan po, sila ay sanay na sanay po at nakakaunawa sa mga pangangailangan para pagandahin ang mga batas na lumalabas sa Kongreso. Pagdating naman sa mga pinanggalingan, baka akala po ninyo, silang lahat ay tiga Maynila lamang. Baka akala ninyo, isa lang ang pinanggalingan nila, sa Luzon lang nanggaling. Hindi po ganun. Pagdating sa geographical representation, 2 po ang taga Mindanao. Alam nyo, kilala nyo naman ang ating kampyon. Si Senator Manny Pacquiao ay galing... Si Senator Manny Pacquiao ay galing Bukidnon, Sarangani at saka Jensan. Si Erwin naman, lumaki sa Davao Oriental, sa Sulu, mga probinsya kung saan nadestino ang kanyang bayaning ama. At isa pa, ang una pong Vicente Soto ay naging senador na galing naman sa Cebu. At alam naman siguro ninyo, ang nanay namin ni Amy, ang aming ina, mga 100% waray. Wala sa kanilang may bahid na problema. Wala kayong maririnig na masamang balita tungkol dito sa ating mga kandidato. Ito ay hindi lamang sila ay magaling. Sila ay mabubuting tao. Sila ay mabubuting nagseserbisyo sa publiko. Wala sa kanila ang may bahid ng dugo dahil sa tukhan. Wala sa kanila ang kasabwat sa pag-aabuso na binulsa ang sako-sakong pera, pinagsamantalahan ng pandemya, binayaan na magkasakit at mamatay ang ating mga kababayan nung panahon ng COVID. Wala sa kanila ang nagsisip-sip po sa China na yung iba pumapalak pa na tuwan-tuwa na pagka binobomba po ng tubig ang ating mga Coast Guard, kapag hinaharang ang ating mangingisda, at ninanakaw sa kanila ang kanilang huli. Kaya po, makikita po natin na malinis po ang record nila. Malinis po ang kanilang ginagawa, malinis po ang kanila naging trabaho. Kaya po, napakadali po ikampanya ang ating lineup. Marami pong nagsasabi na ang midterm election daw ay hindi masyadong mahalaga, hindi masyadong importante dahil hindi naman na magbabago ang Pangulo. At yung naiwang 100 pa na senador ay hindi naman mapapalitan. Well, siguro naman sa ibang halalan, baka totoo 'yun. Ngunit hindi totoo po ito sa halalan na ito sa midterm election. Dahil ang pagpili ninyo, ang iboboto ninyo ay ang magsisilbi ng gabay kung ano ang tutunguan ng ating bansa. Babalik ba tayo sa nakaraan na ibinubugaw ang ating bayan bilang isang sugalan ng mga dayuhan? Babalik ba tayo sa landas na umaapaw sa dugo ng mga inosenteng mga bata na inakyat sa bahay, inagaw sa kanilang mga ina at kinuha ang kanilang kinabukasan? Alam niyo po, dalawa po ang pagpipilian na ngayon natin. Mamimili ba tayo na babalik tayo sa panahon ng lagim o tayo ba ay tutungo patuloy sa ating kinabukasan na maliwanag, na mapayapa at maganda para sa lahat ng Pilipino? Hindi po namimili kung sinong uunahin, hindi po namimili kung sinong sikat, kung sinong mayaman, basta't Pilipino, tinutulungan ang Pilipino. Yan po ang panindigan po ng alyansa. Kaya't po, pagdating ng Mayo, isipin po ninyo na ang bawat boto ninyo ang magbibigay sa atin ng magandang kinabukasan. Ang kinabukasan na ating lahat na ilayunin natin na mapaganda ang buhay ng bawat Pilipino, mapaganda ang ating minamahal na bansang Pilipinas.
You just heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacanang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 9.475 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.820 MHz. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacanang in Review. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacanang.